Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Kyle Bauer visits with Cale Sledge, marketing manager for the Hesston Corporation out of Hesston, Kansas, and a part of AGCO. Kyle and Cale discuss the 70-year history of the Hesston Corporation and take a look at the many milestones of hay innovations that have impacted their business. Next is the weekly Kansas Soybean update, and then we're back with Kyle and Cale talking about celebrating 40 years of making big round balers and 60 years of building swathers. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Find out more at kansasgrainsorghum.org.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Let's join Kyle and Cale for a look at the 70-year history of the Hesston Corporation.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I have the opportunity to visit with Cale Sledge. He is the marketing manager for Hesston Corporation. Hesston is a homegrown corporation of Kansas. Been there for many, many years. Can you bring us up to speed a bit on the history of Hesston Corporation?
Yeah, for sure. So this year we're proud to be celebrating 70 years of being in the business and producing equipment right out of Hesston, Kansas. Small company that was started 70 years ago by a man named Lyle Yost, who was actually a harvesting contractor at the time, came in and started it, and the original plant one is still there today from back then. So,
and the hay industry has been a huge part of Hesston.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, it came on as a hay equipment company, producing the first self-propelled windrower over 60 years ago, and some other milestones along the way with auger headers, draper headers, and disc headers. Innovations in the industry drove that business. Yep. And
truly, with Hesston Corporation, a big part of it is the huge number of people that it employs through the central part of the state.
Yeah, that's right. Several communities, including Hesston itself, are very impacted by the plant there in Hesston. The communities of Newton and Hutchinson and other communities surrounding there, and even all the way down to Wichita, we've got employees that are impacted by the plant there.
And not only was Lyle a manufacturer, but he was truly an innovator and an inventor.
Yep, you're exactly right. I mean, he came on and a lot of the ideas that we still see today, like the self-propelled windrower, is a great example of coming out with a solution for farmers to be able to have something that was self-propelled and can go out, get their hay crop up in time.
You know, it appears, though, that he really listened to the market because he was the cutting edge, like you said, self-propelled, but then large volume hay processing that we'll be talking about later. It appeared he really had his finger on the pulse of the market.
Yeah, and I think that leads into even how we do business today with field test engineering and a very, very extensive voice of customer process of going out, interviewing customers, and finding out what they actually need to improve their operation.
Now, at some point, Hesston Corporation became part of AGCO. About when did that happen?
That happened in the early 90s when AGCO bought the rights to the rest of Hesston, and since then been running strong. And the plant continues to grow about every few years. You go up there, and there's another building that's been added on, so it continues to grow. And then we're planning on continuing to grow in the future.
Just a bit about AGCO. How many countries is it represented by? It's truly international in scope.
Yeah, represented from all continents all over the world, globally. So producing from tractors, hay tools, combines, other seeding and tillage implements all over the world.
We're visiting with Cale Sledge. He is marketing manager for Hesston Corporation with AGCO. We'll be visiting about their line of products and the milestones that they're celebrating this year. Back to you, Jamie.
Folks, stay with us after the break. Kyle will be back with more with Cale Sledge.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Support Kansas agriculture education with an AgriTag. AgriTags are available anytime at your county treasurer. They look great on cars and trucks. For more information, go online to ksagclassroom.org.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We're back. Let's join Kyle and Cale and talk about the invention of the large square baler.
Kyle Bauer back more with Cale Sledge and Hesston Corporation, talking about the milestones and the history of a homegrown Kansas corporation like Hesston Corporation has been over the 70 years they've been in the market, and celebrating a number of milestones of hay innovation. Truly, as we looked at hay innovation, one of the things after the Swather came large hay processing, and that was innovated by Hesston Corporation.
Yep, that's right. So during the mid to late 60s, there became a big need to try to store hay around and to gather hay in large volumes around. So Hesston came out with what we call the stack hand at that time, and which is a great way, and still stack hands are used even today. A great way to put up hay and to store hay on the side. Not such a great way to move it, though.
Yeah, and that became the issue. The farmers, ranchers learned that high volume hay handling was very valuable to them, but then we also started to realize that shipping hay long distances had big value too.
We've with the stack hand, being able to store hay around, the need to move hay obviously drove one of our projects that we're very proud to be a part of today, which is the large square baler. 1978, that was brought to the market, and really started around that early 70s time frame of figuring out how do we store hay and then be able to move it across the country with things like drought going on, and then other areas that aren't able to produce the high volumes of hay that the West can produce.
You brought up drought, and that really was paramount as we came through this most recent drought. There was a lot of hay hauled thousands of miles because the drought was so big, and it made a lot of difference to whether the cow herds could be maintained through that time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. To be able to have a large square baler, whether it's within Hesston or wherever it is in the industry, to be able to have a large square baler to move hay all the way across the country, whether it's from California all the way up to New York to feed horses, or down to Florida to feed horses in different races and racetracks. The need to be able to move hay around to support the cattle industry, the dairy industry, and other parts of livestock industry, became a big deal. And I feel like the large square baler really helps us to do that.
Well, and you bring up a great point, too. A lot of times the best market that hay producer might have might vary through the year as to where he might go with that hay. It gives him a lot more options.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Whether it's alfalfa or orchard grass, having a way to move that hay around and receive it at the time that the producer needs it, is critical for us.
There's different size of big square balers, too. Why is that?
A lot of it really just comes down to trucking. We've got 3x3s, which are used a lot in the northeast kind of dairy areas. 3x4s, which is ideal for trucking to be able to stack them onto a truck. Which that's really, that size is used really all over the U.S. and Canada. And then we do offer a 4x4 size, which is what the original large square baler was, which is a 4x4 size. That's not so ideal for moving across long distances, more kept locally for local dairies and that type of thing.
We're visiting with Cale Sledge. We're talking on this show this week about the history of Hesston Corporation and some of the milestones that they're celebrating this year. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Next is this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Bill Shapaw, professor and soybean breeder with K-State Extension, is joining us now. And Bill, as farmers are out planting soybeans across the state of Kansas, it's always good to remind people about some of the rules about planting saved soybean seed. What are some of the notes that producers need to remember when they're getting ready to plant their soybeans?
Well, in terms of saving seed from production for 2016, the main rule is that farmers need to make sure that they have the permission to save that seed and plant it again in 2017. That's the basic recommendation that I can give. I can't tell you based on the variety or whether or not it's public or private, whether or not they can save that seed. There are a number of intellectual property rights tools in place to protect varieties, and farmers are just going to have to check with their seed supplier and find out what their rights are.
And especially using the example of the first generation of the Roundup Ready soybean technology is off patent, which means there are some changes there that growers need to be aware of too.
Absolutely. Okay, Roundup Ready 1, the patent on that trait, on that gene expired last year, 2015. But that patent applied to that trait, to the Roundup Ready trait. There are hundreds, there are thousands of soybean varieties that have been developed with that trait. Those varieties also can be protected under different types of intellectual property tools. Although the patent expired, and that had implications in terms of the tech fee or the royalty that was collected on that. That just because it expired, a farmer or producer cannot conclude that they could save seed of the variety, of the Roundup Ready 1 variety that they're planting in 2016.
And Bill, if soybean producers do plant some of those without permission as far as the saved soybean seed, what kind of problems can that cause down the road?
There's litigation that could be imposed by the owner of the variety and fines, and that has been done in the last couple of decades. So it should be very easy for a producer to find out whether or not they can save the seed, but you can't assume. If it's a Roundup Ready variety, one variety, you cannot assume that you can save that seed. If it's a conventional soybean variety, you cannot assume that you can save that seed. If it's a public soybean variety, you cannot assume that you can save that seed. You're just going to have to find out what rights are and what are the expectations of the people that have developed and are selling that seed.
That is Bill Shapaw, professor and soybean breeder with K-State Extension Agronomy Department. He joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. After the break, let's join Kyle and Cale again for more about the Hesston Corporation.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
This segment brought to you by Heinen Brothers Ag. Farmers helping farmers by offering quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia. Call today to protect your crop yield.
Thanks for staying with us. Next, Kyle and Cale discuss 40 years of making big round balers.
This is Kyle Bauer visiting with Cale Sledge as we're tracing the history of Hesston Corporation, the innovative products that they've had over the years for the hay market. Behind us is big round baler, and of course many big round balers over in the United States. But this is a milestone for Hesston and big round balers.
Yep, that's right. So this year we'll be celebrating our 40th year of making round balers. Throughout the years, we've had a lot of innovations that have happened just to keep up with the changing industry in the round balers.
So what sort of things have changed?
So tight weather windows, the need for more commercial round balers throughout the years with things like with corn stalks coming on, needing a heavier round baler to keep up with faster tractors, the demands to get the hay up quicker.
You know, there was a lot of little things that people don't probably appreciate, but not having to back up after you drop each bale is kind of nice.
Yep, to be able to, things like hydraulic kickers that have come out and be able to help you to get the hay on the ground and move on to making your next bale.
Net wrap has kind of changed the market a bit.
Yep, so net wrap for sure, that came along a few years ago. That really changed things to be able to store your hay outside and not have to try to put it all inside without worrying about it spoiling. Yep.
Well, and it raised capacity significantly.
Yeah, so baling with net wrap versus twine, it's initially the upfront cost is a little bit more, but over time, how much faster you can bale your hay and how a better result you get at the end is really worth the initial investment.
It's a big country, and the haying needs in the southwest part of the United States is different than Wisconsin. How do you deal with haying conditions that are that different?
Yeah, so it's all about building a good general purpose round baler. So a baler that can handle the heat of the South and Texas, and can also handle the high moisture, high humidity of the North. So to be able to meet customer needs all over North America.
You know, early on, all balers were really finicky on the volume of hay going in, the moisture level of the hay going in, and now they're so versatile that they really solve a lot of those problems.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really the round baler industry in general see more and more manufacturers making a silage round baler or balers that are made for high moisture specifically, to keep up with that ever-changing market, and making sure you have a versatile baler that will do it all.
But the Hesston baler is sold only in North America?
That's correct. On the round baler side, yep, we make them in Hesston, Kansas, and they're sold just here in North America. We do have other parts of AGCO. We make balers for all over the world, and they're produced in Europe.
And why is that?
Just different crop conditions. So in Europe, it's a different little bit need. The needs are a little different for the silage crop, the high moisture crop, and so they build it right there in Germany, and to be able to export around the world from there.
We're visiting with Cale Sledge. Cale is with AGCO Corporation. When we're back, we'll talk about one more milestone of AGCO. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Stay with us after the break for more from Kyle and Cale.
I'm a patient of Kansas Regenerative Medicine in Manhattan. I had stem cell therapy in my hips and my left knee. My wife and I both are patients. We went down there the same day in November. Since then, my hips are feeling a lot better. I can work now most of the day if I want to. And before, if I worked in the morning, I was done in the afternoon, or if I worked in the afternoon, I was sure enough done for the rest of the day.
Through the generosity of Dr. Eva Gardner and Dr. Dan Thompson, Kansans now have the opportunity to support the wildfire relief effort by purchasing a signed and numbered print of the original painting, A Walk Through Henry's Dreams, by Dr. Gardner. This gallery quality print is only $200. Order your print today online or call 785-273-5115. Please help support the Kansas Livestock Foundation Wildfire Relief Fund.
Biodiesel made from sustainable resources is diversifying our fuel supply. This year, biodiesel will displace over 1 billion gallons of fossil fuel nationwide. It's making our economy stronger and our communities healthier. It's working here and across America. Get biodiesel going in your community. Visit americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply. Segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor. We'll finish up today as Kyle and Cale discuss Swathers and the 100,000th windrower that rolled off the line in April.
Kyle Bauer continuing to visit with Cale Sledge. He is with AGCO Corporation. We've been talking about all the evolution of products for the last 40, 50 years at Hesston Corporation in haying for the most part. And there's a big milestone on this swather we're seeing behind us. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Hesston's been building swathers for 60 years now, so we're celebrating that anniversary with our 100,000th windrower. Will be rolling off the line there in Hesston, Kansas, April of this year.
And tell us about the evolution of them. One thing is just huge is the power that swathers have anymore.
Yeah, so I think it's the power driving the speed. You know, everybody wants to go faster and faster and faster. And from the days of the sickle head keeping you really limited on speed, you know, development of the rotary disc head to be able to go a little bit faster, but, you know, having, you know, concerns about reliability and how it would hold up in tough crops, and just how that's developed over the year and over the years, and how the rotary disc heads have been built heavier has allowed these machines to go faster, which has drove that power.
Well, and truly, it's amazing the amount of volume that can go through a swather. You can talk about feed 10 feet high going at 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour sometimes. It's just mind-boggling if you ever ran one of the old ones.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Just a lot of the innovations that have been through the years, whether it's suspension or different ways of steering, different ways of cutting. I mean, even 10 years ago, you would never imagine going, 10 miles an hour, much less even up to 15 miles an hour. The other big thing, I guess, really with the amount of volume and being able to drive consistency is the way that GPS steering has come along and allow operators to be able to make the most of their efficiency and fatigue through the field and be able to just put as much crop they can put through.
I may be going down a direction here that I shouldn't, but we see Draper swathers today. We're the first Hesston swathers drapers.
They were the first Hesston swathers were auger heads.
Okay.
Yeah, so a sickle bar, which is similar to what a draper head is today. What we see today in a draper head with the sickle knife design on the front. But yeah, the first ones were sickle heads.
But truly, early on, going to the auger was an innovation. Now there's crops that we're going back to the draper. Why is that?
So crops like canola, and which is heavily in Western Canada, but still down in Kansas, Oklahoma areas, we see a lot of canola crop, and it's just it's more of a crop that needs to be handled with the draper head to be able to swath together so the combine can come back through really easily.
And they're wider headers.
Yep, they're a lot wider headers, so upwards of 30, 35 foot or even more in some cases, to be able to run through the field. So it really puts the pressure on us as a manufacturer to come up with innovative designs to figure out how to take those down the road and pull them down the road so they can get from field to field without having to drive a 40-foot draper head down the road. So
truly, for 40 years, you never took the header off a swather, but nowadays it comes off regularly, especially on the draper headers.
Yep, draper heads with quick connect couplers and rear steering that we have on the back of them to be able to tow them down the road. Yeah, it's a regular thing to be able to take the headers off.
We're visiting with Cale Sledge. He's with AGCO Corporation. We've been going through the history of haying equipment and the history of Hesston Corporation. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor. We're here every Tuesday on Ag AM in Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com.